In a million years, to me and my wife thought that we would be standing here getting ready to talk to the president, the vice president, and Congress. What we would like to see reform is change. We would like to see these bills passed. George Floyd bill should have been passed. Maybe if they was passed earlier, we wouldn't have this tragedy with our son and a lot of other parents that are suffering because people need to get off their tail and pass this bill.
It's the family of Tyre Nichols advocating for the passage of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act and speculating about whether, if that had been done in years prior, maybe this terrible killing wouldn't have happened. I don't know, nobody can know. If it is passed, we won't know which of these sorts of beatings or killings will not happen. But the entire point is to do whatever we can to make that happen. And it turns out that they're by far not the only people that support the passage of this. I know that if you believe that there should be comprehensive police reform, you have been made to feel like some sort of radical or extremist over the past few years, but you are very, very much in the mainstream. There was a big survey done between February 2nd and February 6th of the sorts of reforms included in this bill, and they are very popular. The number of Americans who agree that, quote, we need to fix the police by reforming the existing system is at 59%. 4.5 times as large as the number who want to defund and reinvent our approach to public safety. So again, some of this gets into wording or whatever, but there is much support for comprehensive reform of our police. And we're gonna bring up this graphic and maybe we'll jump into a few of these individually. Apologies to mobile, you're probably not gonna be able to make out this chart there, but what they show is the reforms that have been proposed, whether you favor or oppose them, and basically it's displaying the percentage point difference between the share who say they favor it and those who say they oppose it. And so you can see net how popular these are. And some of these, like using like body cameras, federal funds to use body cameras are in the 50s to 70s. Even Republicans, the majority, are supporting this. National Police Misconduct Registry, also wildly popular. Easier to prosecute police officers accused of misconduct. Very popular for Democrats. This is where you start to get into a little bit of Republicans still in favor of it, still net positive. But isn't that amazing? The framing of the question is that punish them for misconduct. They definitely had the misconduct. That's baked into the prompt. But even then, Republicans are like, I don't really care so much. They do support it. It's a winner. But like it's weird how ready they are to allow misconduct to get away without any consequences. Anyway, we can talk about others. There's stuff about qualified immunity and no-knock warrants and all that. All of these are popular to varying degrees. Some of them wildly popular. I would put them in the class of policy proposals that I would call the most popular things that you could propose right now. And yet, where's the action? Where's the momentum when it comes to getting these wildly popular policies passed into law? Francesca, what do you think?
Absolutely, and it is going to be very sick and cruel to look at the family and the parents of Tyre Nichols in a couple of years after having invited them to the State of the Union address and say, I didn't do anything. We didn't do anything. And even though I sort of rolled you out a little bit as a prop, I don't really have a plan to actually put the pressure on the politicians to pass something like the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which it's a step, but it would not necessarily have saved Tyre Nichols' life. What it could have done and what it could do in the future is to hold the police officers who did it accountable, right? So ending qualified immunity could do just that, and that would be huge. Chokeholds, I mean, God, what didn't they do to him? That's something else that's in the Justice and Policing Act. I don't think that would apply in this case, but hey, a step is a step. But again, I think the most striking thing about this also is the database of police officers who have been, who have misconduct allegations against them, and that we should create those so that they can't keep on being funneled back to other departments and rehired, which is seemingly popular according to this chart with Republicans as well.
Yeah, so 71%.
71%. And guys, remember that Tyre Nichols, a week before he was murdered, another young black man was brutalized by the same Scorpion, whatever police force there in Memphis. So again, it's like guns in this country. Basic background checks, basic reforms are incredibly popular, but when it comes to the political will and the money, we can't, this is like a little dog that's trying to eat from the table, and like I know people who are like, no, I don't, no more, don't eat anymore. Here you go. Don't eat from the table, and you keep on feeding them and you keep on giving them. That's the same thing with cops. No, we can't have these runaway cops. Here's more money. Guys, we just found out that they took our COVID relief money. A ProPublica study, a Marshall Project study, found out that they got millions and millions of dollars from the federal relief money that was supposed to go to us and our health care, or supporting us when we had to take time off work. That went to carceral systems, the prison system, and police in our neighborhoods. Why? At the same time that they were tear gassing us for being on the street to ask them to not kill people.
Well, look, you rightly point out the downside of that. The plus side is that because that money went to police into prisons, there wasn't devastating spread of COVID inside of like prisons and stuff like that. So thankfully we avoided that because they took that money. I'm kidding, it's devastating.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So all this information is available. It was Yahoo YouGov poll. You can look it up if you want. The bottom line though is that for basically all these policies, between 10 and 20% of Americans actually oppose this stuff. Some might be a little bit ambivalent or whatever. 10 and 20% actually oppose them.
Nothing.
It is about as radical a position to oppose these reforms as anything else in politics. If you can get only 10% of the country to be against it, that is a truly out of the mainstream position to hold.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.